Hi, folks, and welcome to the Sports Affiliation Give Back show, where I hope to spotlight people who are running charity leagues and charity events. There's so much good going on in fantasy football that I wanted to be able to encourage more people to participate and contribute. So each week we learn about a charity fantasy football league or a charity event and the person behind it. And hopefully, in the process, we'll get people to get more involved and, of course, figure out better ways to get connected. So, tonight, our show does spotlight such a person and a charity league. My guest this week is James Rapp, who runs the FantasyScape Charity League. So, hi, James, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great, and I really do appreciate you joining us and sharing information both about yourself and about the charity league that you run. So why don't we first, before we talk about the charity league, let's first let the audience get to know you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I run the FantasyScape Twitter account. FantasyScape was an idea me and my friends had during the COVID times.
Sure.
None of us really had anything to do, and everything was a little uncertain back then. And we all had a passion for fantasy football. We were all in a couple dynasty leagues, and we thought we thought we were like experts, so we thought everyone would appreciate our opinion. Um, so we were all in college at the time, so we just got together once every week ish and just started talking about prospects and uh, team chemistry or team makeup, team like how you should be prioritizing startups, stuff like that, usual podcast stuff. Um, Unfortunately, life kind of pulled us apart, like physically. Like we still talk a lot, but one of us actually moved out to California. Um, a lot of our members, if you can see, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but you get to see the beautiful gray skies of Cincinnati. Um,
So you're based in Cincinnati, Ohio?
that's right, yeah.
And
Uh,
and before we go into more about the league itself, perhaps we'll just chat a little bit about you and what I'm guessing you're a Cincinnati Bengal fan based on being in Cincinnati.
Unfortunately, at least we have Joe Burrow. That's all I'll say. And now Jamar Chase and T Higgins long term.
Yeah, and your offense is great, and Joe Burrow is like definitely a top five quarterback. So you have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the good parts already in place. Um, I try to ask this question in part because I'm in Texas, so I know the Texans pretty well, but I don't know as much about all the different teams or in the rest of the league. So I'll ask you a couple of questions about the Bengals and what you expect from them in 2025.
Yeah. Um, what do I expect from them? With the Bengals, it's always a large range of outcomes. I think Joe Burrow and, like you said, the offense is good enough to always keep us in games, even with the top end. Like a lot of our games this year, even against teams like the Chiefs, we were right at it until the end, but the defense was left a little to be desired.
Yeah.
But hopefully, we got a new defensive coordinator. I think he was from Notre Dame, I want to say. Hopefully, bring in some new, fresh faces through the draft. I don't think we signed anyone that significant, like in free agency, besides the two wide receivers, obviously. Um, but hopefully, the defense just needs to play better. Yeah.
A player that, and you mentioned both dynasty and of course, the Bengals offense, and a player I jumped on in a couple of drafts was Eric All as a tight end, and of course, I think he had injuries and wasn't as
Mhm.
used in 2024. Do you have any expectations where he might, as a all owner? I'm hoping that he's going to have a good second year. So, any thoughts on the tight end position?
Yeah. So he had, uh, it was at least an ACL tear in college. I don't know if it was anything more. And it seems like he re-injured that his rookie year. He was coming on quite well, like early to mid-season. He looked like he was going to be a good part of our offense, but unfortunately got hurt, and that injury doesn't seem to be very favorable for him. But cross your fingers, I guess. He looked like he was a good player.
Yeah, he did look, and again, it wasn't a significant investment on my part. I think I picked him up
Mm,
either late third or early fourths in drafts that I did. So, but again, tight end is a position I rarely hit the jackpot in. I usually wait in drafts as opposed to spending the big investment in like well, years ago, Kelsey type investment or Andrews type investment, and now Bowers and um, you know the McBride type investments.
mm.
So I'm usually bottom feeding, trying to find a guy to help out. But yeah, if I can get lucky on one, then then I have a pretty good chance. Now, uh, I'm guessing you don't work professionally in fantasy football, so you must have something that you do to help pay the bills. What's your other outside of fantasy football life look like?
Yeah, so I'm actually a recent college grad. Uh, Graduated from the University of Cincinnati. Uh,
Nice.
Shout out to the Bearcats. Um, I I have an undergrad in finance and a minor in economics. So
Nice.
all the numbers and spreadsheets stuff. I have a pretty big passion for. Um, Still looking for uh, a job, I guess, in that field, but my job currently is the one that kind of took me through college, helped me pay all my student loans. I work right now, like evening slash overnight shift at like a warehouse, I guess you'd call it.
Mhm.
Not glamorous work, a lot of just like truck unloading and sorting stuff out, but keeps me busy. Definitely keeps me active. So I'm not just huddled on my phone all
Sure.
day, every
Sure.
day.
I've worked a similar type job for Home Depot some years ago. I was working doing the shelving and the pulling things up and down off shelves and the like. Um, and it was a weird experience working late at night from usually 6 p.m. to midnight.
Yeah.
Um, my favorite part was the 9 to midnight part was when the store was closing down. So it was a lot more quiet and got a chance to actually do a lot more work as opposed to chasing things down for customers. But yeah, um, it was also fun place to work, good company. And then yeah, I always ask this question of everybody just because I know that I get in trouble when I'm in too many leagues. But how many leagues or actually we got you into fantasy football to begin with?
Did you say what got me into it?
Yeah. Yeah. How did
Okay.
you get into fantasy football? Other than I'm guessing you like football, but
Yeah. So I started, gosh, probably sophomore year of high school. Um, I had always watched the Bengals. They weren't very good at the time, but I watched them. Um, I was just like a casual sports watcher, I guess.
mhm.
And one of my good friends, he was just like, "Hey, we're running a fantasy football league. Do you want to join? We're gonna be at uh like B Dubs or something, Buffalo Wild Wings." And it was one of those like draft care packages that you can get
Mhm.
where you like get the stickers and put your picking up on the board. And I think this was 2016 maybe. And but my very first pick was Le'Veon Bell, and this was the year before he held out. I remember that very well because he was also a first round pick next year, but he wasn't usable at all.
Mhm.
So
We've all done that.
yeah.
And so how many leagues are you in currently?
Oh gosh. I think 15 right now. Most of
15
them are dynasty.
leagues or 15 total? So,
Uh, most of them are dynasty. I'm in one like it's actually a charity guillotine league that's really
nice.
fun. I don't know if many people are familiar what a guillotine league is, but like the
It's
lowest score
okay,
of
thank you, because it's the one league type or the one fantasy football type of league that I've never tried. So I've always wondered. So yeah, please do explain, help me out with what a guillotine league, how it works.
so it's a normal like redraft format at first, everyone picks their team normally. And then at the end of the week, every week, the lowest scorer um, basically just like drops their whole team, and people can buy that up with their fab or whatever.
Mhm.
And um, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic because like you don't know whether you want to blow your whole fab on I don't know like Jamar Chase week one or hold it and hopefully you can get like a late season breakout, like maybe like a Brian Thomas Jr. from last year. How he
Perfect.
was kind of
Sure.
how he was kind of a league winner. Um, but if you blew all your money on Jamar Chase week one, you couldn't get him.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I actually find that at least in regular leagues, not guillotine leagues, but in regular, um, you know, whether it's redraft or whether it's dynasty, and I mostly play dynasties now. But I've always been of the belief that your fab doesn't help you at all at the end of the season. You don't get extra points for having the most fab left for the season,
right? Yeah.
and that if you spend big at the start for a player that's going to play the entire season, you get the most value for that player since you're dividing the total spend by the total games of the season as opposed to the last 3 or 4. So I'll probably be a little more aggressive at the start of the season, and then at the end I'm searching for that $1 or $2 player, but I can definitely see the danger in that approach too, as you spend a lot for, say, a Jordan Mason, which was a player I
Yeah.
grabbed a lot of last year, and then all of a sudden he gets hurt, or the starter comes back, and all of a sudden Jordan Mason gets pushed back to the third running back role. Yeah, that could not be the best strategy, but that's more the gamble I'm willing to take, is to toss a little bit more into it. And you mentioned you play mostly dynasties. Do you play any best balls or?
Yeah, I have a league that I run, fantasy best ball league, um, and it's a lot of fun. The benches that I made are like huge, so you get contributions from like Darius Slayton when he has a 200-yard, 3 touchdown game once a year. Um, yeah,
And he's the perfect type of player. You want someone who, might have that one breakout game, and all of a sudden you're getting a big return on that, player investment, even if it's a draft pick.
that's
So
right.
you look for, the more perhaps of the breakout player as opposed to the person who's going to give you, steady return during the course of the year.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
and then I'm guessing, or have you played in, say, the Scott Fish Bowl yet, or any of the other large leagues of that type?
I have not. I haven't been invited yet. Hopefully, I can sometime soon. But funny you mentioned that because we were actually back when I think it was 2 years ago. So Scott Fish does like a live stream event where
Hmm.
he actually like it's like a charity live stream event, and we were actually like one of the I don't know what you'd call it, the sponsors, I guess. Like
Okay.
we were able to send in a message, and so someone read our message on live stream, and it was a
All
cool
right.
experience.
Yeah.
I don't know if someone could find that sound bite, but yeah, that was a really cool experience.
Yeah, and there's other, of course, there's the Fantasy Cares Eliminator leagues that are, also for in support of Fantasy Cares, and then there's, the playoff leagues afterwards, and then I believe they still also run the satellite leagues. So there's, other ways than just in the main Scott Fish Bowl to be able to participate. So always encourage people to put in the application, because the one thing for sure, you can't get into the Scott Fish Bowl if you haven't applied. So keep
Yeah,
doing that, and then just be actively involved. And certainly you're actively involved with your FantasyScape charity leagues. So perhaps this is a great time to transition to talking a little bit more about the charity league itself. So why don't you give us a little of a background on that?
yeah. So that was an idea of mine. Um, you know, it was kind of my reasoning was like, winning your league is great, and you get a good amount of money usually when you do it, but it's certainly not money that most people like need, I guess. Like you win like I don't know, like $300. It's great to it's a lot of money and it's great to win, but I think there are people that could benefit from that money more. So that
Mm.
was kind of my reasoning. Um and it's been fun running them. Uh so far we've had two. And it's been good amount of work, just keeping them up and running. I might actually do another one this off season since I'm not busy. I For some reason I had the bright idea to do like three startups, like within the same time frame. So it just got really really chaotic. But now that I'm a little more focused this off season, I guess I might see if I could pencil in another one because they are really fun to host and to see everyone uh, change their like we run them on sleeper, so you can change your like team name, and usually people put their team name as the charity they want their winnings donated to, and it's really
Nice.
cool seeing that.
So, can you tell us a little bit more how your league works? How many teams there are, and how many divisions, or how is the league organized?
So it's a pretty normal dynasty league. I try to add a little something flavorful in the settings. Like one of the leagues I said was best ball. One of them is two tight end with like heavy tight end premium scoring.
Hmm.
But other than that, it's just a normal dynasty startup. We run everything through League Safe, so people can be assured nothing fishy is going on. And at the end of the year, instead of sending out the money in League Safe, uh, well, we send the money in League Safe, but I send the money through my account to the whatever charity the winner wants, and I post up the receipt, and then yeah, we feel good about it.
Very cool. And you mentioned that it's to the winner of the league gets to choose the charity. And so that's the way you run your league, is that the winner chooses the charity, and then the rest of the I guess whatever contributions from other teams get uh, also sent to that same charity, or how does that work?
Yeah, so whatever the league buy-in, it's usually like $20 to $30. Um, we just put that in the winning pool, and then we just send it all to the charity of choice. And you can, if you so choose, send more, but all we ask is the minimum
The league buy-in,
league
sure.
buy-in. Yeah.
And you've mentioned you've done a couple of these leagues so far. Um, um, can you name off some of the charities that people have played for?
Yeah, so I think it was our first year. It was a weird year. If you remember back to 2022,
Okay.
it was it was week 17, and it was the DeMar Hamlin game where where
Yes,
he where
he
he
collapsed with
yeah,
what looked like a heart attack. Sure, yeah.
yeah. So it was a really weird year. Um I was actually in the championship, and I think it was week 17, so like none of the players just got any points from that game. So we decided, instead of going through the monotony of figuring out who's the winner, it's a charity league. We're just going to send all the money to the charity anyway. We'll just send it to the DeMar Hamlin, his foundation, which was like the Chasing M's
Hmm.
toy drive,
Wow.
I think it was.
Yeah, super.
Yeah,
That,
and
that's such a cool idea too. And I'll tell you that my oldest daughter, and I'm a few years older than you, I'm suspecting, but my oldest daughter, who's now 31, so yeah, I'll leave people's concerns by saying that she's a happy and healthy 31-year-old. But back when she was born with what's called transposition of the great vessels, meaning her arteries were plumbed the wrong way.
mm,
And when she was born, she was our first child, so we were, of course, pretty concerned when the baby came out blue, and the doctors immediately, you know, put her into some sort of way of transporting her to the Lucille Packard Hospital in Stanford, and then rushed her over there and um, put her on a medicine to keep this tiny little duct that's in the inside of the heart that allowed blood to go back and forth between the chambers of the heart, and basically allowed for oxygenation of your your when you're inside the womb, you can't breathe the air normally. So that is how babies are able to survive in the womb. And they kept that duct open to allow my daughter to continue to, survive for the first 5 days. And then they went through an arterial switch operation. I guess a long way to say that, things related to heart issues, the American Heart Association, what Damar Hamlin went through on, Monday Night Football, I believe. It was like a huge, huge audience for that particular game. And to see him plop down with that significant heart issue, it, really was more impactful to me. And, I'm lucky enough to have him. I had him as a player on 2 of my dynasty teams. I have 2 IDP teams. And so I still have him. I kept him on injured reserve. And when he, and now he's, again, a star defensive back for the Bills. So it's still one of my favorite players. And in part because of what my daughter went through, 31 years ago. So, so such a cool story to hear from you that your league decided, the fairest and also the best way to, distribute the charity funds was to donate to his charity. What a cool idea.
Yeah, thanks. And it meant a lot for a lot of us because if you remember, it happened against the Bengals in Cincinnati. So
Yes.
I wasn't in attendance that game, but I was in one of the local bars like close to the stadium watching that game live, and it was a pretty surreal experience.
Wow. It must have been. And so you've donated that year. You donated to his charitable foundation.
Yep.
What about in the second year?
Second year, we had the World Wildlife Fund,
Oh,
which
nice. Really
yeah,
cool.
that's a really cool one. Um, I have a I like a lot working, outdoors. I have kind of a passion for gardening.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so that's something that means a lot to me. Even though I wasn't the winner, unfortunately, that year. But actually, the one of our leagues we've had a back to back winner. So
Have to break
he's
that string, right?
yeah, he's looking pretty good. Um, and then another year we had this back to back winner. He has Lamar Jackson on his team,
Oh, of
and
course.
yeah,
That
if you
helps.
can, yeah, and Lamar is obviously a big part of why he won this year, especially. So he decided to, I think he found out what Lamar's like my cause, my cleats charitable thing is. And so we sent the money to the Youth Development Boys and Girls Club of Baltimore.
Oh,
So
cool.
that was a cool one. It's always cool getting the confirmation emails about your donation
Oh, I
and
can imagine.
just reading up like what the money's going to be used for.
Well, and also one of the things I kind of like to see with a lot of the charity leagues and charity events that I've had the opportunity to talk about and learn about over the last couple of weeks of doing this is that it seems to have more of an impact on the people in the league and certainly the organizers. If the charity has some sort of personal connection, whether it's, gee, we know the people who, his child has been ill, or, they themselves had some health or some other issue within the family that led them to want to support that particular league. So the fact that you're allowing people in your league to choose the charity that means the most or has the most importance to them really is kind of cool that you're doing that. It's always good to be able to, donate money to any of the big charities that are being supported in most of these leagues.
Yep.
But I just think it's kind of cool that, when you have the ability to, make a connection to something that, is most important to yourself or your family. So really cool. So, and so how many people would you say have participated in your leagues, either in total, or do you have a certain number of divisions, or, how many people typically get to play in these leagues?
Yeah, so it's probably an average of like 12 per league. We're not big enough yet to the point where we're having like divisions and all that, but um, I'd say in total we've had, gosh, probably close to 40 people, probably more because a couple people drop out, which is just the nature of things. 40 to 50, um, and like I said, I'm talking myself slowly into hosting another one. So
Cool. And it sounds like and you mentioned that these are dynasty leagues or redrafts or a mix, or
they're dynasty leagues, yeah.
and that must be a little bit more challenging. I've talked to at least one other person who runs a dynasty league, but as I mentioned earlier, I tend to play mostly in dynasty leagues, so orphans seem to be just,
Yeah.
a part of life with a dynasty league. So making sure that, not only do you attract fully committed people, but also the league is fun and there's a lot of interaction. You mentioned it's being played on Sleeper, which is a great platform.
Hmm.
A lot easier to use than, say, MFL. I've played long enough on MFL, so I'm comfortable enough with it. But there's so much more, I guess, user experience within the um, not just the computer platform, but also and especially the mobile or the cell phone version of the platform is so much better um, on Sleeper. Although my understanding, rumor is that the folks that are responsible for MFL are hard at work at making, updating the experience, the user experience. And we'll just knock on wood that part of that is
Yeah.
a mobile app version of it. Um, but also you get to have the chat. So is there a lot of interaction amongst the different teams or the people in the league?
Yeah. At the end of the year, when I post the receipt, everyone's like, especially like the first years, like, this is such a cool league, like, this, stuff like that. There's a little bit of trash talk too during the season, which
That's football.
I'm I'm perfectly okay with.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be a fun league without a little bit of
Oh, for sure.
competitiveness. Um, and that keeps people around usually too, just forming that like rivalry brotherhood type thing.
Yeah, there's some of the dynasty leagues that I'm in that have either they don't, and these are usually MFL leagues, but they don't have a really, set form of interaction. So you don't have a lot of chat. So you literally have to send a trade offer as like a dollar fab for $2 a fab, just so you could say, "Hey, are you even interested in doing
Yeah.
trades?" Or, what would it take to get a certain player from you? And that sort of interaction in Sleeper is a whole lot easier because you do have that chat
Mm.
window. You can do a private message. So that's another cool thing about that you're using that in your league. And then also, just staying in touch with people. A lot of fantasy football is developing a community, and that includes, people that you occasionally are fortunate to meet because other people in your league also in the Cincinnati area. Do you get a chance to, or do you know any people personally as opposed to just knowing each other through the internets?
Besides like the core FantasyScape group, usually they're just like Twitter people that I've,
Okay. So,
interacted with, like mutuals on Twitter.
yeah, I've had the fortune of being able to meet people in person, and makes it much more cool because it reminds us we're all people, and
Yeah.
we have things going in our lives, outside of fantasy football. But the fact that we also share that love of football and have fantasy football, makes it a whole lot easier to make friends and develop deep bonds with people. And so that's one of the things I always enjoy most about fantasy football is getting to meet people and getting a chance to, you know, learn from them, not just in the football sense of learning, but also just, learn and support them and things that are going on in their lives. So, um, now I know that running a league is not the easiest, especially when especially if it's a dynasty league, and especially if it's a charity dynasty league. How much of your time or effort do you spend, running the league? Is it pretty easy? Do you have people helping you? How's that working?
So, during a startup, it can be a little chaotic, obviously, trying to find people too. Um, I've found it's a little harder to find people for a charity dynasty league for whatever reason versus like a normal one.
Hmm.
Um, maybe I just looked at the wrong time, but that's my personal experience. But during the off season, not too hard. You just gotta make sure, like I said, if anyone drops out, you're trying to find people. I go on like I'm on some of the like big discords around, like Dynasty Dad. I don't know if you're familiar with that
Yes, I'm
account.
familiar with Dynasty Dad, sure.
Yeah. I'm actually I'm actually as good as online friends you can be. I'm actually good friends with FF Snoog, if
Oh,
you
okay.
know who
And
that
I,
is.
I kind of think I've seen that name on the Discord, so that's cool. And so, but you run the league pretty much yourself, at least at this time.
Yeah,
Wow, that's a lot of
yeah,
work.
it is, but it's something I can shoulder at this point.
Oh,
Um,
cool. And again, this is a question I ask, each guest because, one of the goals of this show is to encourage people to not only get connected and, perhaps join these leagues that are being discussed, but, maybe there's something that they're inspired to do is to run a league and to especially run a charity league. How would you encourage others, or would you encourage others to do this?
yeah, I would say it's a bit of a time commitment to be sure, but there's really nothing like the feeling of just getting some competitive friends or Twitter people in a league and just being able to do a little good with this niche hobby we all have.
Hmm.
Just give back, especially if you're giving back to um like a charity that your top scorer of the league, like how the winner of our league, gave to Lamar Jackson's. Um, it just makes it a little personal, makes it fun, and it's really not that much of a time commitment versus your normal dynasty startup.
Very cool. And I especially like the idea of, if you're a big fan of Lamar Jackson or a big fan of the Baltimore Ravens or, any play out there, most of the players have some foundation or some charity that they believe strongly in. And it makes it much more, I don't know, it makes it more fun to support a football player that you closely identify or root for, or you're a fan of, and also support the the charitable work that they're connecting to. It just makes you, I don't know, much more of a fan. I mean, just that's what we all are. We're all fans of football, and this gives you a better chance to do that and have a good feeling about, yeah, we all like to win. I mean, I like to win each of my leagues, but to also, it's a huge win. I think everybody wins when you can feel like you're giving back to the either local community, local charity, or these big, global charities. It just makes you feel better about yourself as a person. So how do people, enter your leagues? I'm hoping that, based on this show that, you might get an upswing in people reaching out or wanting to play in your league. How's the best way that people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, so my DMs are always open. Let me pull up my on Twitter so I don't mess it up. So my is just at FantasyScape _. If you want to reach me there, uh, just DM me. I'm usually on Twitter throughout the day. Um, so if you want to reach me there, my DMs are always open. We do actually have some spots opening up in our league. Some people had to drop out, like you said, unfortunate reality of dynasty. Um, so if you want to join, I'll be tweeting out, the the orphan stuff, tweeting out the team and how you can join and all that. If you want to email me, email is jrupp, RUPP, the letter J, and then RUPP, 9700 at gmail.com. And yeah, those are probably the best way to reach
Awesome.
out to me.
And for people watching, we'll also include all the contact information in the YouTube description. So in case you weren't jotting down, or you were worried you were getting to the wrong email or the wrong Twitter account, we'll have all that information down in the show notes or in the YouTube description. So please look there as well. And also, just before we close for the evening, James, you also mentioned that either a colleague or a co-league member was also, having some stuff going on, and that you were hoping to be able to share a GoFundMe for that.
Yeah, so my good friend, his name is Brody. He recently just started his battle against cancer, and he has a GoFundMe to uh, help pay for the treatments. Chemotherapy, radiation. It's not cheap at all.
No.
And it's my mom actually went through breast cancer, so I can attest to the cost, both financially and just like general health wise, what those treatments can do to you and your immediate family. So I'll send Rick the information and
Great. And
anything.
we'll also include that in the YouTube description below if folks want to help out in that as well. Well, James, I really enjoyed getting a chance to learn about you and about the charity league that you run. And so thank you very much for appearing and sharing. And again, we'll remind folks how they can contact you with your Twitter account information and other contact information in the description below. Um, and and also for folks out in the audience, if you are running a charity league and would like to appear some upcoming Tuesday evening, go ahead and contact me. And I always struggle with this. It's right there is my Twitter account. And love to be able to raise awareness to both the league and the charity that it supports, and also let folks know about the good that you're doing in fantasy football. So please go ahead and join me next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, when my guest is going to be Matt Cullen, who's with the JTT Bowl. And by the way, that's my second UK-based person in the league. So we truly are an international or global sport, and love to be able to share information about what he's doing. So again, thanks everyone for watching, and remember to do good, be good, and most of all, give back. And we'll see you all next week. Thanks, Dallin. Thanks, James.
Thank you.